You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Thursday, January 10th, 2019. This week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we have been talking about holiness and how we need to endeavor to become more holy, to be like God, who is love, who is mercy, and who is faithful. We've talked about how God is standing at the door of our heart knocking, and the first step to become holy is to simply let Him in. We also talked about how we need to embrace the words of St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta and St. Therese, that we are not called to be successful, we are called to be faithful, and that being holy isn't going to give us a list of accomplishments. It's simply going to give us lots of opportunities to remain faithful to God and to get up and try again. Now today we are going to talk about something called virtues. Virtues. Now, when we talk about holiness, it's sort of a big, broad term that can talk about many different things and many different ways where we can leave behind sin and become more like God. But if we're actually going to make progress and actually make changes in our heart and our life, then we need to talk a little bit more specifically. A virtue is a good and holy trait that a follower of Jesus embraces so that they can live a better life and show the world how beautiful life following Christ is. That's what a virtue is. It is a good and beautiful trait that helps us follow God and become more holy. So there are three what we call cardinal virtues. Cardinal virtues. Now, in this sense, the word cardinal means main or important. So when we talk about the big term of holiness, we can break it into three main categories. And these three main categories is what we are going to be talking about this month on Catholic Sprouts. The three main virtues, or the three cardinal virtues, are faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. Those three, they work together. There's some overlap. But if we can become faithful, if we can become full of hope in the Lord, and if our life can overflow with the love of God, then we will be truly following Jesus. And we will make an impact on this world that will reflect Jesus and lead others to Him. So those are the three cardinal virtues that we will be talking about. And here is a little bit more about each of the virtues. The first one, faith. The cardinal virtue of faith refers to believing in Jesus and, because of that belief, placing all of our trust in Him. The next cardinal virtue of hope refers to placing all of our hope in God alone. That means that we're not placing hope in ourselves, in this world, in other people, but simply in God. So in a big way, we have to turn our back on this world. We're not going to be chasing down money and career. We're going to be following God. And finally, the virtue of love means looking outward. Previously on this podcast, we've talked about how we have a tendency as human beings to turn inward, to think about our own pain and loss and hopes, and therefore to be selfish and not care about the needs of other people. But that is not what the virtue of love calls us to be. The virtue of love is best illustrated on the cross, where Jesus didn't care anything about Himself. He gave everything that He was out of love for us. That is the best image of love. And so, friends, here is my challenge for you today. When we're talking about virtue, I want you to simply think about these three cardinal virtues: faith, hope, and love. I want you to remember those words: faith, hope, and love. And we will be talking about those a lot in the coming weeks. So just really mull over what those might mean and how they might play out in your life.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God intended you to be. One last thing, I'd like to invite all parents and teachers listening to this episode of the Catholic Sprouts to jump on over to YouTube and discover a new channel devoted just to you. Catholic Sprouts for Moms is going to be sharing weekly videos that will hopefully help to inspire you in your own faith journey and become better teachers of the children entrusted to you. That's Catholic Sprouts for Moms, and you can find the direct link in the notes for this episode.